You were one of the individuals involved in the decision. Were you personally involved in drafting, reviewing, and approving the letters?
During a recent House Energy and Commerce Committee session, Yvette Clarke pressed for clarity on a critical issue: how federal authorities decide which states get investigated for Medicaid fraud. Her questioning of Kim Brandt, a top official at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, spotlighted concerns about transparency, consistency, and fairness in oversight. Clarke's line of questioning reflects a broader anxiety among lawmakers, whether the process is driven by objective data or influenced by less visible factors. Medicaid, a massive program serving millions of Americans, operates through state-federal partnerships, which makes oversight inherently complex. That complexity raises the stakes when it comes to identifying fraud, waste, and abuse. Make sure you listen till the end, otherwise, you might miss it when it cuts off.
I now recognize the ranking member of this committee, Ms. Clarke, for her 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In addition to the billions of dollars that CMS is threatening to cut off to Minnesota, the agency has initiated investigations in California, Maine, and most recently, New York. Ms. Brandt, which individuals at CMS were involved in the decision to select these particular states, and what was the process?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Clarke. The answer is that it is an entire team of people within the Center for Program Integrity.
Hold on one moment. I asked which individuals, not the team.
That would be myself as well as the career heads of the team.
And what was the process?
The process is we use a data-driven approach. We are constantly using heat maps and data analysis to be able to look and see where we think the largest shifts are. For instance, in Minnesota, what we saw was an increase in the adult companion service providers by over 131%, with a corresponding increase in Medicaid payments of 234%, while the number of actual beneficiaries remained fairly stagnant at around an increase of just 24% during that period of time.
You mentioned that you were one of the individuals involved in the decision. Were you personally involved in drafting, reviewing, and approving the letters?
I was personally involved, yes.
Administrator Oz has indicated that other states will receive similar inquiries from CMS. Can you confirm Administrator Oz's public comments that other states should expect letters from CMS?
We continue to look at other states and just sent a letter to Florida today.
And what data is CMS using to determine which states should be investigated, and how many more does it intend to investigate?
We use the Medicaid data, the TMSIS data, which is reported by the states, and we mine that data. It also recently has become publicly available, so others can mine it as well. And that is the data that we use to be able to decide where to focus. I cannot give you an exact answer on the number of additional states because that'll depend on what the data shows us.
Other states are understandably watching how CMS is treating Minnesota. In January, CMS notified the state of Minnesota that the corrective action plan to address healthcare fraud was insufficient, and the agency was prepared to withhold more than $500 million in quarterly Medicaid funding. The state requested a hearing on CMS's decision on January 9th. It is now March 17th. And the CMS has still not scheduled a hearing about these massive cuts. When will the hearing be, and why has it taken CMS this long to schedule it?
In answer to your question about when the hearing will be, we have been stayed from actually planning the hearing because of subsequent litigation that the state initiated against the agency.
While this process remains stalled, Vice President Vance and CMS Administrator Oz announced that Minnesota will be subject to an additional Medicaid funding deferral of $260 million a quarter, or up to $1 billion over the next year. The state also asserts that CMS has not provided specific details that would justify this deferral. Did CMS staff conduct a full audit of quarterly Medicaid claims from Minnesota before making the decision to defer nearly $260 million of reimbursements to Minnesota State Medicaid Agency?
Yes, in fact, that number was reached after a very thorough financial review of the CMS 64 forms, which Minnesota provided to justify why they were entitled to those dollars.
How long did it take? How long was the audit? How long did it take to do that audit?
The audits can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days.
Okay, so do you recall specifically Minnesota, how long it took?
I don't recall exactly how long, but it would have been between 30 to 60 days.
Why has CMS refused to fully explain and discuss the deficiencies you have found in the audited claims with the state of Minnesota?
That is incorrect because our team has been meeting with the state on a regular ongoing basis. We get weekly data feeds from the state, and up until a week ago had been having weekly calls with the state, and in fact have sent teams to the state 3 different times to meet
There's
with them.
been no negotiated settlement or improvement, if you will.
There's been ongoing discussions about their corrective actions, what they're doing, and the timeline by which they are going to complete those
And
actions.
so these further deferral actions on top of what has already been withheld is is it a motivational thing? What is it? Why is that required if you're in negotiation?
So they're 2 separate actions, ma'am. The first is a financial audit based on claims submitted that they need to be able to look to show that there is financial justification and appropriate documentation for how it is that they are going to be able to show why the claims that they submitted need to be reimbursed at that level. The second is an ongoing discussion about program integrity actions, which is separate and distinct from the financial piece.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Brandt, in response, emphasized that CMS relies on data analytics, reporting anomalies, and collaboration with oversight bodies to flag potential issues. However, Clarke appeared to push for more specificity, seeking to understand whether there's a standardized threshold or a clear set of triggers that automatically initiate investigations. At the heart of this exchange is accountability. If the criteria for launching fraud investigations are not clearly defined or publicly understood, states could perceive the process as arbitrary. That, in turn, risks undermining trust in the system and could even discourage proactive compliance efforts. This moment also underscores a key tension in federal oversight, balancing flexibility with consistency. Agencies like CMS need room to respond to emerging fraud patterns, but lawmakers want assurances that decisions are rooted in uniform standards, not selective enforcement. Ultimately, Clarke's questioning signals a push for greater transparency in how billions of taxpayer dollars are monitored. And as scrutiny over federal spending intensifies, exchanges like this one may shape future reforms aimed at tightening oversight while ensuring fairness across all states. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.